Hi, welcome to the April 2015 Town Hall session from the Educational Technology Advisory Committee. I'm Joe Moreau, I'm the Vice Chancellor of Technology, and today's topic is preparing for the conversion to Office, Microsoft Office in the cloud, otherwise known as Office 365. This is one of the 2014-15 ETAC Town Hall presentations. Just for a bit of reference, this year the Educational Technology Advisory Committee felt that it was important for us to get more information out to stakeholders district-wide about a whole variety of technology planning topics and priorities, and this is one of the formats we're using to reach out to folks and let people know what's happening. This is I believe our fifth session for this year, and the final session for May will be on technology purchasing. If you've got ideas or suggestions for town hall sessions for next year, for the 15-16 year, please feel free to email me or any of the members of the Educational Technology Advisory Council. We'd love to hear from you to hear what you would like to hear more about. So with that, we'll dig into today's topic on Office 365. So what is Office 365 and why might we want to do it? Well, Office 365 is a new cloud-based application offering from Microsoft. It provides a whole variety of features that I think a lot of people are going to be very excited about. Certainly, first and foremost is the Microsoft OneDrive. It's gone through a number of names throughout the year, but its current name is OneDrive. And this is really secure web-based file storage, so people have a place in the cloud where they can park their files and they can be sure to be able to get to them wherever they can get an internet connection. Another nice feature of OneDrive is it provides you with the ability to share documents across users. So instead of, if you're working with a colleague to edit, say, a Word document, you don't need to go back and forth on email with that document. You can co-edit it together. It includes lightweight versions of the Office applications. It provides for collaboration sites. It'll provide for people to have full versions of Microsoft Office on multiple machines, and we'll talk about that in depth. It'll provide some really exceptional integration with email and calendaring, and it also provides some really great mobile device support, which a lot of folks are asking for, whether they're using their smartphone or using a tablet computer of some sort or another, an iPad or a Windows tablet. There's some great support for mobile devices. So we'll take a few minutes and go into each one of these topics in depth so you'll have an idea of what features and functionalities you can expect over the next couple of months. So the OneDrive, again, as I mentioned, that's secure online file storage. It really allows everybody to park their files in one place and be able to get to them wherever they have an internet connection. It really provides an unlimited amount of storage per user, so I don't think anybody's going to end up running out. This has been something that has been the part of a war between Google and Microsoft about who could offer the greatest amount of storage to their users, and I think once they both got to unlimited, then there was no place else to go. So plenty of storage for people who want to store their files in the cloud. Again, it's available from any internet connection, so you can get to it wherever you may have a connection, whether you're in your office, you're in your classroom, you're at home, you're traveling, doesn't matter. As long as you can get an internet connection, you can get to your OneDrive. There are no restrictions on file types, so you can put any kind of file in OneDrive you want, whether they be Office files or PDFs or any number of video files, audio files, any number of things. There are no restrictions on the file types. And one of the other things that's really nice about the OneDrive is if you're using it with Office, you can set it up so that it automatically saves your files into your OneDrive space, so you never lose a file because the power went out on your computer or you accidentally closed it and forgot to save it or something like that. The automatic save functions into the cloud storage is a very handy feature. So I think lots of folks will get great value out of the OneDrive features. Related again to OneDrive is document sharing capacity. So right now, when people are co-editing documents, 9 times out of 10, they are emailing that document to somebody else. They're making some edits. Maybe they've turned on track changes, which works pretty well, but drives most people crazy. They're sending those documents back and forth. One person is trying to reconcile all of the changes that everybody's made, and it can be very confusing and time-consuming. With OneDrive, you'll be able to share documents with other users. You still retain the ownership of that document, but you can give other people within our domain and beyond the ability to either read only read that document in other words, view it without making any changes, or you can give them read-write access so they can co-edit those files with you. And you also have some nice features and functionalities for tracking changes and version control that's very easy to use. So you can see who made what change, where, and when they did that, and you can incorporate those changes or back them out. You'll be able to sync documents with your local documents and between local documents and documents in the cloud. So that allows you to edit offline. So perhaps you're on a plane and they don't have wireless on the plane, so you can download that document, work on it while you're on the plane, and then when you get back to an internet connection, resync that document with your cloud storage and keep those all in order. And again, you can share documents through OneDrive with people internal to the Foothill-De domain or outside of the domain. So if you're working with colleagues from other institutions or students or whomever, you have the ability to share documents outside of our domain. Lightweight applications. A lot of folks are finding that as cool as the Microsoft Office applications are, a lot of times they're more complicated than what most people really need. So I think Microsoft has done a pretty good job of analyzing the top 80% of all the features that most people use on a regular basis. So they've developed lightweight versions of the Office apps, Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, and they've kind of boiled it down to most of the features that people typically use. So if you're doing very sophisticated document work like generating indices or table of contents or footnotes or other kinds of things like that, you may find that the lightweight versions of the Office apps are not quite what you need them to be, but you always have the Pro version that you can go to. But a lot of folks who are just doing general papers or memos or letters or things of that sort that they would typically do through the course of a regular work week are going to find that the lightweight versions are pretty capable and will provide you with the functionality that you need. And you can use those from anywhere that you have an internet connection. Again, you don't have to have the full version installed on the machine you're using. You can use the lightweight version through your browser. And again, you can work on documents offline and sync them up with the cloud later. So there's a lot of nice features for working locally and then syncing up to the cloud later if you're not close to an internet connection for some reason. Collaboration sites, one of the things that we'll get out of the Office 365 product line are project or team websites. So this is a really nice way to put up, if you're working on a project with some colleagues or you want to put up a small website for a class or a club or any number of things, you'll be able to use project and team websites to do that. It's a very convenient way to access a lot of the standard features of Office 365, such as file storage and sharing and posting notes and agendas and syncing with calendars and things of that sort. So that will be available as part of the Office 365 offering as well. Again, you'll always have access to the full version of Microsoft Office, and there's a couple of really nice features of the Office 365 suite that are a little bit different than what we have right now. So first of all, when we subscribe to Office 365, your version of Office will be kept up to date all the time. So right now, across the district, we have some people who still have Office 2003, and some people who have 2007, some people have 2010, and some people have 2013. And if you're a Mac user, you might have 2008 or 2011. The versions are all over the place. with this subscription to Office 365, you'll have the opportunity to let Office keep itself up to date automatically, so you'll be assured that you always have the most current version of Office at your fingertips. Of course, you'll be able to maintain this on any college-owned devices that you use. So if you have a desktop in your office or a laptop assigned to you, it'll make sure that it keeps those up to date. But you also have the ability to install this on personally owned devices as well. So if you have a computer in your home that you use or another laptop that's your personal laptop or something like that, you can install the full version Microsoft Office Pro on your personally owned devices. And the limit is 5 copies per user. So it doesn't matter how many, what machine you put it on. There are 5 copies assigned to each user, and you can put them on any machine you choose. Now, when you turn in a machine, let's say you get a new machine at home or you get a refresh machine here at the district, you would simply wipe that license out off that old machine and put that license back on the new machine. So that, again, those licenses travel with the user and not so much with the machine. So that gives you a lot of flexibility on where and how you can use the Office Pro version. There's a lot of great support for mobile device. The Office 365 supports all the major mobile operating systems. So, of course, Apple iOS operating system, the Android and Windows Phone 8.1 and higher. It supports devices, the iPads, Android tablets, Windows tablets. The other thing that's really nice about the Office 365 subscription is if you were to lose your device and you had some data on there that you felt was sensitive and you wanted to make sure nobody got access to that, you can use the Office 365 suite to wipe out those files on your mobile device remotely. And then if you find it, you can always resync your files from the cloud, or if it's lost for good, you haven't lost any vital or critical data on that device. So there's some real nice mobile security features in the Office 365 suite. Email and calendar, there's some really nice features on email and calendar. As I mentioned before, there's solid integration between OneDrive and sharing and sites and things of that sort with the email and calendar. We currently run the Outlook email and calendar on premise, meaning that it's actually installed on a server physically in the data center in building L7 here at De Anza. But we will eventually be looking to migrate from our on-premise solution to the Microsoft Cloud version of Outlook and Exchange and the email and calendar over the next several months. There's some really great advantages to doing that. One is that the interface between the two products is virtually identical. You really will see very, very little difference. So there's very little learning curve for people to move from the current version that we have to the cloud-based version. But we'll also pick up some great additional features, like we'll get improved email filtering, spam and virus control, and other unwanted content. Microsoft has some very aggressive filtering tools that will help us keep all that bad traffic out of our inbox. It also, the other thing that's really nice about the Office 365 version of Outlook is it incorporates all of the features of the desktop version of Outlook into the web-based version, and then of course it's all integrated with OneDrive and the other 365 applications. So we'll pick up some of the things that have been difficult to do on the Outlook desktop version will come into the web version in Office 365 and be a lot more convenient and easier for most people to use. So what's the timeline for this? When do we think we're gonna move on that? We have a couple of pilot projects underway right now. We have a significant project underway with our colleagues in facilities. They've got some very significant file storage requirements and team site requirements. So we thought, well, we'll start with them because they'll really challenge us to press the limits of Office 365 and make sure we know how to do all these things. So that pilot is underway. We're getting ready to do the second pilot with the ETS staff, and we've got a few other people who have volunteered to be pilots as well. We're currently in license negotiations with Microsoft to convert some of our existing licenses to the new Office 365 license, and we're just about done with that. We want to make sure that we fully understand what the terms and conditions are, especially in terms of data ownership and data information security and things of that sort. So I think over the remaining part of the spring and the summer, we'll be working on pilots and finalizing negotiations, and then we'll have this ready to roll out to users in the fall of 2015. I think what we'll do is work with people to take advantage of all the new services that are available in Office 365, and once people are really comfortable with that and figured out all the things they can do with that, then we'll take an opportunity to look at a time frame for migrating email and calendar to the cloud, but we haven't yet chosen a date for that at this point. What do we think the user impact will be? Really probably not very much. We are planning to integrate all of the Office 365 services with everybody's current MyPortal CWID and password, so the credentials you use now will be the same credentials you use for getting access to the services in Office 365. For those people who might need some training on how to use these services, we, of course, have a subscription with lynda.com, which is one of the world's premier online training services. That's an unlimited subscription that we have. Any faculty member or staff member or administrator of the district who'd like to use lynda.com can do that. And all you need to do is go to the lynda.com site and set up your account using your Foothill-De email, and you'll be good to go. There's instructions on the ETS website about how to do that if you need a little help, or you can call the call center, but it's very easy to do. And there's a whole host of training materials on Office 365 services that you can use to get yourself up to speed on something you may not be familiar with. I think one of the things that people will be able to do very nicely is store and share documents securely. So one of the things that we will ask people to do is once we have this service set up for the district, if you've been using an ad hoc solution like Box or Dropbox or Google Docs or something like that, where we don't have a contractual relationship with the provider, and we maybe not have the kinds of guarantees about security and privacy that we'd like to have, we'll ask you to migrate from those services to Microsoft Office 365, where we do have that kind of protection for information security and privacy. You may need to learn some new ways to collaborate with your team based upon file sharing and co-editing and things of that sort. But again, you can go through the training in lynda.com, or I'm sure throughout the fall we'll have some workshops and professional development opportunities for people to come and figure out how they might do some of these things, particularly as they're working through committees and task forces and senates and things of that sort. You may find some great new ways to collaborate with your team. I don't think you'll see any visible changes to email and calendar, which are the two big applications that so many of our folks rely on a daily basis. I think it'll be a pretty seamless transition from our current services to the Office 365 services. So if you have questions or comments, please feel free to contact me or contact Sharon Luchu on my staff. Or Chin Shi if you've got questions about timing, or if you'd like to be a pilot. Again, watch out for announcements in the fall about availability of Office 365 services, and be sure to take advantage of the training on lynda.com. So we'd love to hear any feedback you might have on this when it rolls out. I think people will be very excited about it. It'll save a lot of time and effort for a lot of folks and provide some really desperately needed collaboration services for our district. Thanks for your time this afternoon, and hope to talk to you again soon.